ain't you alone, son? Whatever bank you visit, answer your phone, son. This is your boy, Matt Pitt. I'm taking over this.
Hi, welcome to Live with Barb and Ray.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Ray. Wait, you're not Barb.
I'm not Barb.
Do you guys know who this is? Introduce yourself, please.
Okay, my name's Stephanie Godel, and I'm actually your 2019 president-elect, a.k.a. Ray's sidekick for the year.
Yep. So we needed Stephanie to step in today because Barbara is out of town. She is in Chicago working on a pretty cool working group for the National Association of Realtors.
They actually asked this big group of people to take the governance of NAR and essentially dump it out onto a table and kind of pick and choose how they want NAR to look like moving forward.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity for Barb, and we're so proud of her for being out there doing that.
She'd been traveling a lot doing these meetings, and I know it's a lot of work for her. She was bummed she couldn't be here, but my trusty sidekick said she'll step in, and she's taking over. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, live with Steph and Ray.
Live with we should cross this out and say live with Stephanie and Ray. Maybe when you market it, Jay, you can do like a fun graphic like that.
Perfect.
So, fun fact about Stephanie is I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
How tall you are, and we're going to stand up because every time we
we're
go
gonna
anywhere, anytime we go anywhere, I go, Stephanie, you can't wear your heels.
Yes,
So-
5'11", and I wear heels, especially when I'm around Ray.
You just do it on purpose to mess with me.
I do.
So, as always, on our way in today, I stopped by Lori Smith's office to find out what the big issues are. She gave us a list of stuff. So, we're going to read the list and kind of just stop on a few of the ones that we feel are most important. A lot of these we've really beat home in the past, but there's still issues, guys. And
Which is crazy that there's still issues.
Yeah. So, the main complaints. Coming soon signs without the proper use of the seller exclusion form submitted to the MLS. Do you guys realize when somebody puts a coming soon sign, they have to have the proper MLS exclusion form sign? Maybe you can take over a little more on this one because you probably know it very well.
And the one that they want, and people get confused because there's still the one in zip forms, the SELM as we all know it. But CRMLS created their own exclusionary form, which is great because it allows for the coming soon, and it does affect the marketing, the days on market. So just be aware and use the correct form, which is the one through CRMLS.
Yeah.
So.
And so the coming soon, essentially, if you put a house on the market and there's a coming soon sign today, for example, and you don't plan on actually putting it in the MLS till June 1st, the day that it hits the MLS, June 1st, it will have 3 days on market, whatever I'm lost on dates, but that's marketing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of agents that will put up a coming soon sign for a month, and then when it hits the MLS, it should say 30 days on market. So I hate to say this, but I turn them in all the time.
Yeah.
If I see a coming soon
As you
sign,
should.
I take a picture. You guys should be doing the same thing. It's essentially just taking a picture, sending it to compliance@crmls.org, and because we should be following the rules, and these are the new rules, and everyone should abide by them.
100%.
So, okay, moving on. Improper outdoor signage.
What does that mean?
That still means that agents are not putting their brokerage on their signs. They're not putting their license numbers on their signs. It happens, and I think we spoke about it in the last video, is that the DRE is now sending people out, and they are cite and fine. They see a sign that they can't automatically identify who your broker is, and it's a $500 fine. Just boom, fine.
And Lori did mention that she just got permission from the DRE to immediately just forward that stuff off to them, and they'll handle it. And it is the cite and fine.
And Lori gets those phone calls and emails all the time about people's signs being out. Another sign issue that's a little further down the list here is leaving your signs out overnight. Can't do that, guys. That's the PWR fights for. We go to all the local jurisdictions to make sure that the sign ordinances are in our favor and not too crazy. And that's going to be one that's going to be an issue when the signs are out all the time.
Yeah, it's becoming, I'm seeing more and more. And, you know, as we all have our Facebook groups, I think, in a lot of communities as realtors, and just don't be afraid to stand up and say, hey, guys, I understand you want to promote your open house, but per sign ordinances in certain cities, make sure you're taking them down overnight because it upsets a lot of people, and we don't want that right to be taken away.
Don't be lazy. Just pick them up. Pick them up and put them out the next morning.
Yeah.
Let's see. Use of another agent's photos for advertising. I can't believe that that's even an issue. That one's funny to me.
This is my favorite. Lack of returning phone calls, emails, or text messages.
Where's the professionalism, guys?
know.
We're all here to work together, to sell houses together, and when another agent's trying to email you or call you, get back to them.
And guess what? We're pretty much always attached to our phones anyways.
Yeah.
So,
We know. I know when I'm trying to get a hold of another
Yeah.
agent, they're going, oh, it's Reagan.
Yeah.
Ignore. Oh, it's Reagan. Ignore. So it's not like we can hide from our phones
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
You used to, like when we had pagers. Remember the days
Yeah.
of pagers?
beep, beep, beep.
Yeah. So let's see. What else? Zillow advertising coming soon. Which one did you want to do?
Oh, the no proof of presentation of offer. She's been getting a lot of phone calls about that one.
Yeah. And I've been trying to do it where if I have 2 or 3 offers, I'll take all the offers to the seller, we'll sign the one we're going to sign, and then we'll sign page 10, the rejection, and I'll send it
Good.
to the agent. And that's the easiest solution,
Easy.
guys.
Easy.
What else? Listing not entered into the MLS, but it's on Zillow. That's the same as a coming soon sign in front of a house. It can be done if you have the proper exclusion form signed with CRMLS.
This was the other big one.
Yeah,
Keeping their property active in the MLS, but not allowing showings until the open house.
Not allowed.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
And Lori's been getting a ton of those phone calls as well.
so if you go active, you need to be prepared to start showing the house as soon as you go active.
Agreed.
Let's see. I think the rest we've talked about.
I feel like we kind of beat a dead horse with these, but
yeah.
they're clearly still an issue. People still complain about them.
Here's
So-
another one. Agents putting properties on hold do not show just while reviewing offers. That's technically allowed, but you do realize you have to have written permission from your sellers to do that. That keeps throwing me off because this monitor's like changing and like I could see it. That's okay. Sorry. Okay.
He's supposed to be the professional here. No, just kidding.
Not really.
Okay.
So if anybody's been following Barb or Stephanie or I in the last month, you know that we've been traveling a lot. We went to Sacramento at the beginning of May. Middle of May, we were in Washington, D.C. Glad to be home.
So glad to be home.
But there was a lot of important stuff that happened. And we brought in one of our experts, Darth Vader, over here. And I don't know when it'll pan over to him. But there's our infamous Tim Shaw, Government Affairs Director, one of our Government Affairs Directors. And he is here to first tell us why the heck he's wearing that.
The Force is with you, but you are not a Jedi yet.
You
Today
know,
is graduation day, and I broke out the old hood to wear for graduation ceremonies. So
Well, you look great.
I'm in my cap and gown and hood, I should say.
for anyone that does not know, Tim Shaw is a city council member in the city of La Habra. So tonight is La Habra High School graduation, and he will be walking out as part of the procession and shaking all of the graduates' hands and congratulating them. And so that's a pretty neat thing, actually, to be
It's
able
fun.
to do.
My cousin's actually graduating from La Habra High School, so I get to hand her diploma.
That's cool. Congratulations.
So tell us a little bit about what we accomplished and did not accomplish in Sacramento.
Well, in Sacramento, a lot of big bills going on. We did hear from Governor Gavin Newsom was our speaker in the morning session, so it kind of speaks of how well thought of I think our association is. We get the Governor of California, and at our national association we have the President of the United States, so a lot of big speakers coming. But up in Sacramento, we have a number of really bad bills we're pushing against and having mixed results in doing so. We do have some good bills we're supporting, and we can talk about those. But it's a pretty tough environment up there. There's certainly the balance of political power, maybe leaning more towards renters as opposed to property owners and things like that. So property rights is something we just got to keep fighting for.
So talk to us a little bit about AB 1481 and 1482, because these are going to be voted on very soon. There's a call to action that was just sent out, I believe, yesterday, and hopefully you replied to it and responded.
Can we talk about the call to action though really quickly?
Sure.
So you get an email not only from CAR but from PWR too. And if it's an actual phone call, it gives you the instructions. It takes maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're emails where you just go in, you type your email and your zip code where you live,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
it literally takes 2 minutes. When you get those, make sure you respond.
They're very simple. I think people see them and go, "Oh, I don't have
Yeah.
time for this." It literally, you open your phone, you do a few things, enter your
And
name,
you're done.
and it handles it for you.
Yeah.
That's right. And in this particular call to action, some people may not have received it if they really only wanted to target Democrats in this call to action. So if you happen to have a Republican Assembly member or senator, you may not have gotten this call to action. But we're going to go after the Democrats, trying to get them to oppose AB 1481 and 1482. So 1481 relates to just cause eviction. So if you were a property owner and you had a renter in your property, you couldn't evict that renter unless they met the just cause and as defined in this bill. So there's 9 things that would create a just cause. One of them, of course, being the failure to pay rent. But the other 8 are fairly egregious things. I mean, you pretty much have to be committing a felony or doing something very egregious. And the premise being, I think, is crazy that any landlord, any property owner would want to be evicting a perfectly good tenant is nuts on his face. Everyone knows if you own property, you have a really good renter in there that's paying their rent on time and keeping the property well maintained, you would never want to get rid of them. So the fact that the state wants to pass some law to make it very difficult to ever evict a tenant is crazy on its face.
But it comes down to being as simple as you have a 1-year lease, then the tenant goes to a month-to-month, and at that point maybe your cousin or somebody you know needs an apartment and you want to rent it to them, you can't get this tenant out. It just makes it almost impossible to just say, I no longer, my parents own rental properties, I own rental property. It gets to a point where you just no longer want to do business with a certain person,
Yeah.
and it's too bad you're not evicting them. So,
Well, property ownership should mean you own the property, and you largely get to determine what what you do with the property. So, as just a very philosophical premise, we would oppose just cause eviction, like 1481 is trying to require.
okay. And so if you have time today, do that call to action for sure.
Yes.
Tim, can you explain a little bit? We have these bills, and they're always AB or SB. Explain what the AB, the SB mean, and then from one to the other, how it works.
Sure. So if it's introduced in the assembly, it's an assembly bill. So it's an AB. So the author will be a member of the state assembly. There's 80 assembly members in the state of California. In the Senate, there's 40 senators, so it's half the size. But if a senator has introduced the bill, it would be a Senate bill, so that would be SB. So it's telling you what house of origin it comes from. That's an AB or an SB.
And then once they're voted on in one house, it goes to the other.
Right.
And then if it's approved there, then it goes up to the governor.
Right.
So that's how these all work. Okay.
And there's deadlines to these bills. They have to be out of their house of origin. They have to pass. There's all these legislative deadlines, and if a bill doesn't make the deadline, that's when the bill, you say, has died. But we're in the first year of a legislative session, so really no bill dies. All that happens is they become 2-year bills. So that bill would kind of just be dead for this year and then be able to come back again next year.
So let's talk about, we've talked about the AB 1481 and 1482. Let's talk about SB 329.
Yes, so that would make Section 8 mandatory. So right now, if you own property, you're going to rent it out to someone, and they have qualified for Section 8 housing vouchers. The landlord can choose to accept that, and it's kind of a voluntary program. Well, this bill, Senate Bill 329, would make it required. You would not, if you were renting out a property, you would be forced to accept that Section 8 voucher, and so that we don't like that on its premise. Again, you're kind of dictating it once again to the property owner what they have to do with their property. So as a premise, a philosophical premise, we oppose that bill, but it did unfortunately pass the state Senate. So that bill has gone, now that it's passed its House of Origin in the Senate, it's gone to the Assembly. So we need to try to stop that bill in the state Assembly.
And what we learned, because this was one of the bills when we were in Sacramento, that we actually went into the Capitol building and lobbied and asked our senators and our assemblymen to oppose, but obviously it didn't work. They approved it and it's moving forward. But one of the things that I learned, at least about it, was that with Section 8, if a tenant comes to me and they want to rent my apartment and it's my first time using Section 8, I then have to get my property approved through Section 8, and it can take 2 to 3 months just to get inspections for the Section 8 people to come out to approve my unit or my house. So it could be 3 months of no rent while I'm waiting for the bureaucracy of this whole Section 8 program to play out. And so that's a big loss to property owners.
That's too bad.
Absolutely.
So we're against that one.
Let's talk about a good one, though.
Okay. Go ahead.
AB 1590. It's a CAR-sponsored bill that's for first-time homebuyer tax credit. So do you want to go into a little bit of detail on that?
Sure. Obviously we promote home ownership in general, and having with this bill, we'd be able to get more favorable treatment on your taxes, getting that tax credit when you're going to go buy your home for the first time. So everyone's kind of making the calculation in their life. Maybe do I continue to rent? Do I make the plunge to buy the home? We want to try to tip the scale as much as we can towards wanting them to buy. And any study would show over time that's how people have accumulated wealth in this country for many generations. People who have owned their home tend to accumulate wealth throughout their lifetime at a much greater pace than those who have only rented their property.
Perfect. And I believe that one passed as well, the assembly.
Yeah, almost unanimously, 61-3. We got 3 no votes.
Wow, those 3. I wonder who the 3 people were.
Yeah.
We can find out very
We'll
easily,
find
right?
out.
Make it famous.
So these were all our CAR. This was all
Yeah.
state stuff. When we went to D.C., there wasn't a whole lot going on, but maybe talk about SALT a little bit.
Sure. So when they did the big tax reform at the national level, changing all kinds of provisions of the tax code, one of the provisions that went in was, it used to be every dollar you paid to your state government in taxes would be a deduction on your federal income tax. Well, that got changed where it's now capped. So it's a $10,000 a year cap. They refer to it as SALT, state and local taxes. So in a high tax state like California, where we pay a lot of taxes to our state, a lot of people will maybe pay north of $10,000 a year in state and local taxes, but they'll only be able to deduct that first $10,000 on their federal tax. So any tax they paid beyond that at the state level is no longer a deduction at the federal level. So we didn't like that, of course, and so we've been trying to change that provision. Teaming up with other high tax states, I think New Jersey and New York and California were the 3 that got hit the hardest in that reform. So we tried to remind our congressmen and senators of that provision that we didn't particularly care for. We also worked on the issue of flood insurance. Again, we're beating a dead horse. It seems like this happens all the time, but in this country, there's tons of houses that are built within a 100-year flood plain. So it's officially, in the worst rain event in 100 years, it may well flood within this plain.
Well, we're seeing a lot of that right now.
Yeah.
And that's right, in parts of this country. But when you do have a flood event that's flooded homes, it's obviously going to be extremely expensive. So the private insurance is not real happy and not real excited about offering insurance on flood insurance for homes and properties within a 100-year flood plain. So basically, the federal government has a program to basically be the insurance program, a backstop, so that you could get flood insurance through the federal government. But that program keeps lapsing. So Congress has done many, many, many short-term extensions of the flood insurance program. And we were back at the National Realtor Association meetings. We just had a 4-month extension to the flood insurance program. So we bought ourselves another 4 months. But if the program were to lapse, you couldn't do a transaction on a home that's in that 100-year floodplain, which is a ton of houses in this country. So it's a really big issue for us.
Well, I think that kind of wraps up our CAR-NAR trip. We want to thank you, Tim. Before we wrap up, let's talk about a few of our upcoming events.
Yes. So you all should have received a lot of information in regards to our Agent Summit that's coming up next week, June 5th. And it's actually at the Great Wolf Lodge for the second time. We had our
Membership meeting.
meeting there at the beginning of the year. And we have never received so many positive comments about the breakfast,
Yeah.
especially the scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they put in them, but they will be back. So June 5th. So 8 to 9 is the full breakfast. And then the program starts at 9 o'clock and goes till 11. We've got 2 really good speakers this year.
Yep, we have Mike Staver. You and I saw him speak last year. He's
So good.
he's a motivational coach and very motivational, and he will get you leaving that meeting like pumped and ready to go sell real estate and build your business. And then we also have Nobu Hada, who is the director of digital engagement at NAR, and he's gonna give you all kinds of great ideas on how to build your business and how to just make you a better realtor. So it's a really good lineup of speakers that we have.
So be sure to RSVP, like Ray just mentioned. It's a fantastic event. It will get you super pumped for the summer selling season.
Yep.
Say that 3 times fast.
Super pumped for the summer selling season.
But don't forget to RSVP, and that's next week.
Yep, and then we've also got June 20th is our PWR Golf Classic Tournament, and we've talked about that a few times. Hopefully you've already signed up. The money raised for this is what funds the program that we have here at PWR for first-time home buyers and VA incentives.
Yes,
Is that the word
through
I'm
our
looking
charity
for?
foundation.
Through our charity foundation. So it's definitely a good cause. Even if you can't make it, send some money.
Yeah.
So that's June 20th, and that is at Tustin Ranch Golf Club. Is that our first time there?
Yes, it is.
It's our first time at Tustin Ranch, and so that should be pretty fun.
It's a good golf course. I don't golf, but I've heard
Are you
it's
golfing?
great.
We're golfing together, right?
Yes.
Okay. And,
I won't golf well, but I'll be there golfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you pick up your ball and throw it more than you swing it.
No, that's not true.
So with that, we want to thank you for tuning in again.
Thank you for
And-
having me for the first time.
Yep, I'm sure you'll be around a lot more. And stay classy out there, PWR.
Bye.
Day after it's listed, get you a loan, son. Whatever bank you visit, answer your phone, son. This is your boy, Matt Kid. I'm taking over this one.
The live work?
Did I screw anything up?